We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with some pretty sad news regarding Edge's career in WWE, and like we had touched upon in a couple of our previous videos, it does indeed look as though we are heading towards the end of Edge's latest run in the company, and that retirement is impending for the rated R superstar. As some of you are likely aware by now, Edge has been scheduled to return to WWE on this coming week's edition of Monday Night Raw, after last being seen in WWE at the Crown Jewel 2021 pay-per-view event in a winning effort against Seth Rollins. And while many wrestling fans are happy and excited that Edge is making his return to WWE, there is also a bit of an unfortunate side to all of this, as Edge's return on Raw will likely mark the beginning of Edge's last run in the WWE as an in-ring talent. Now, as far as what WWE plan for Edge to do during this last run beginning on the November 29th edition of Monday Night Raw remains to be seen, but not surprisingly, Vince McMahon reportedly wants Edge to go out on a high note. So there are some big things planned for Edge leading up to WrestleMania 38, which in all likelihood will be Edge's final match in WWE. And in all honesty, if Edge does in fact have to leave WWE soon, there really would not be a more fitting stage for a last match than WrestleMania next year. And considering it is highly likely WWE would be making it clear that Edge's last match would be occurring at WrestleMania 38, that will only make the showcase of the Immortals more special feeling for sure. Like we had mentioned before, there has been a rising concern behind the scenes in WWE regarding Edge's health as he continues to wrestle, because Vince reportedly does view Edge as being quite injury prone, and not only that, McMahon is wanting to be very careful when it comes to Edge's health, considering the rated R superstar was forced to retire years ago due to a career-ending neck injury. And even though Edge is able to wrestle occasionally and has continued to be cleared by WWE doctors to compete, Vince does not want Edge to overstay his welcome in WWE as an in-ring competitor, and would rather have Edge retire from wrestling very soon than staying too long, and instead have Edge transition into a non-wrestling role in the company moving forward following WrestleMania next year. And if you hadn't known, one of our sources has mentioned that Vince was really taking things slow when it came to Edge's wrestling return, and McMahon had even contemplated Edge's in-ring return being a one-off kind of thing, but because of the fan reaction and Edge being able to perform very well, and also had an interest in continuing to wrestle, Vince allowed Edge's return to prolong a bit longer than originally planned, because while Edge is signed to WWE for a 3-year contract, McMahon and other backstage officials apparently had no plans of Edge wrestling for all of those 3 years, and that the rated R superstar would eventually be moved into a non-wrestling role sooner rather than later. And it now appears as though we are closing in on Edge's official retirement from WWE. Now hopefully WWE have some special things planned for Edge now that it is clear his in-ring days in the company are very numbered. And who would you personally like to see Edge feud with for WrestleMania 38? Someone like AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, or Bobby Lashley? Or do you feel that Edge should possibly even have a feud for the WWE Championship before hanging up the boots, and maybe even one last short title reign? Let us know down in the comment section below. Now, some fans have been a bit surprised that former Intercontinental Champion Ryback has not either returned to WWE or signed with another major wrestling promotion like AEW, All Elite Wrestling, or Impact Wrestling following his requested release from WWE back in 2016. Ryback has been fairly quiet when it comes to wrestling ever since, but for those of you unaware, Ryback sort of shocked the wrestling community a couple of days ago, with the big guy revealing that he would be willing to return to WWE under one condition, and that said condition is Vince McMahon selling the company and another leader stepping in to replace Vince. Ryback also mentioned that he feels WWE and the wrestling business in general will get better once Vince leaves and the WWE is sold, and this not surprisingly garnered quite a reaction from fans on social media. Here's Ryback's exact message about possibly returning to WWE. I will be very open to going back to WWE if they are sold. I've always been very honest. If Vince is out of there and there's new leadership, I will then be very interested in revisiting that, because that will be beneficial for me as a brand and as a performer going back to where I'm known from, where I built an audience that already knows me. Clearly, Ryback has no interest in returning to WWE whatsoever if Vince McMahon is still the man in charge of running the company, but would consider coming back if the company sold to someone else. And while some fans were on Ryback's side that WWE would be better if the company is eventually sold and that they want to see the big guy return, Others pointed out that if the one condition Ryback has for a WWE return is that Vince McMahon leaves, then Ryback will never be coming back to the company again, because Vince is not going anywhere anytime soon. With the frustratingly low ratings and viewership that Friday Night SmackDown has been dealing with recently, the current Universal Champion and head of the table Roman Reigns may be in some trouble that few fans will see coming. Now, as many of you are likely aware, on last night's edition of Friday Night SmackDown, WWE had a battle royal take place to determine Roman Reigns' next challenger for the Universal Championship. And while a lot of fans were hoping that this big victory would go to Jeff Hardy, in the end it was Sami Zayn who got that win in shocking fashion. And as surprising as it may seem, Sami Zayn is now Roman Reigns' next challenger for the Universal title. Now, there is still a bit of uncertainty regarding when Sami Zayn will be given his Universal Championship match against Roman Reigns, but a breaking new behind-the-scenes rumor has revealed that WWE are considering to have Sami Zayn face off against Roman Reigns for the championship next week on SmackDown, which coincidentally is a show that Brock Lesnar will be returning on. And if these rumors are true, WWE are considering a massive swerve that will shock fans, and hopefully increase the intrigue of SmackDown, which Vince feels has been getting a bit stale recently. This new rumor has stated that Vince McMahon is considering the idea of having Sami Zayn face off against Roman Reigns for the Universal title in an impromptu match next week on SmackDown, only for Brock Lesnar to get a bit of revenge against Roman Reigns and interfere in the match, leading to Sami Zayn winning the Universal Championship in a shocking storyline twist that would catch wrestling fans completely off guard. Now, of course, if this does happen, Sami Zayn would not be the Universal Champion for very long whatsoever, and would likely lose the title to either Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns very quickly. But Vince feels like this scenario could add a bit more uncertainty and intrigue to SmackDown to hopefully increase ratings, and the scenario will allow for Roman Reigns to lose the Universal title, and at the same time potentially get that championship on Brock Lesnar in the near future, because if Sami Zayn does win the Universal Championship with Brock Lesnar's help, WWE would likely book a triple threat match between Sami Zayn, Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns for the title at the Day 1 pay-per-view on January 1st, 2022, in which Brock could win the title at that point. Regardless, this is all just speculation right now, but Vince is getting desperate for a ratings increase, and this could very well be the WWE surprising plan come next week's SmackDown.